Hello, everybody, and welcome to the April 15th segment of Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, joined by Donovan.
And only a couple of more weeks of racing here at Aqueduct before we get over to Belmont. Certainly there'll be a lot more turf opportunities for Trips and Traps over at Belmont, and we do have one turf race coming up later on in the second segment. But for the first segment, we've got a couple sprint races.
Yeah, we're going to show some dirt racing. Of course, with the four-day week, it was a little hard to find them. We have two segments of two races each, but we're going to start with a race from, I believe, last Wednesday, and it's the sixth race. And starting out at number 5, Ampart Ridge, who doesn't break that slowly, but gets shuffled back a little bit early. And we're also going to take a look at the 8, Bankers By, who's a little bit in front of her. We'll point her out. She's in a deeper red silks.
I think one of the keys to this race was how the pace developed here. We see the 7, Linda's Kiss, is going to go on with the lead. Linda's Kisses was 15-1 in this race, and I thought it was a little bit of a long shot stab for some people in this race just because she had that speed. But she gets to sled a slow pace, and the horses in behind her, and that's the horses running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now, are kind of helped out by this because they get to track a long shot, and they're behind a comfortable pace here, while Bankers By and Ampart Ridge are farther behind and have to do a lot of work.
Right, and Ampart Ridge is a classic example we've talked about in the show of horses that break a little bit sluggishly, and you see how far she ends up getting shuffled back because she's not like she's a bullet speed, but she has a little more speed than that. And now she's moving up 3 wide towards the back of the pack, and she's actually going around Bankers By. Bankers By was a horse that made a very big run to win her debut, closing from way back. In this race, it felt like the riders, Rajiv Mirage, I believe, in this race, is sort of pushing her along, trying to get her in the race, and she never seems comfortable. Ampart Ridge is making that 4-wide sweep here. Bankers Lady in behind her, never really unencumbered in the race.
Yeah, I agree. Watching this race over again, I thought Bankers By maybe wants a little bit more ground. I thought Ampart Ridge, just definitely compromised by not getting into position early, being forced to go make that wide move around the turn, and also the pace too, having to close into that pace. I think definitely hurt Ampart Ridge in here, who went off in this race at a 6-1. Is going to close fairly good here to get fairly well, I should say, to get beat only 3/4 of a length, I guess, at the end here. But just an overland route to in a race where there was a slow pace just doesn't seem to work out, and seems like she's got a little heart there down to the finish.
She's the one horse in the race that made up any significant ground in there, so she did run well. Ouchie Knight, who finished 2nd, who was coming off a long layoff, was the favorite in there. A New York bred who had shown some promise in some New York bred stakes last year. She was a big disappointment here, I thought. Yeah. She really never had any finish, had a very good trip. The winner ran surprisingly well, first time off the claim for Randy Persaud. I agree, Ampart Ridge did run well in here. Bankers By, I think she's better than she showed in there. She's going to need a race, whether she's going a little bit longer, 7 furlongs, a mile maybe. We get back to Belmont in all likelihood. Gets a little bit of pace, a fairly run race, and is able to relax. I think Bankers By, based on her first race, she's a better horse than she showed in here as well.
Yeah, I agree. And Bankers By is an expensive New York bred. They paid $450,000 for, so certainly the connections are hoping that there's more upside than what she showed in this race here. And I think you're right. I think going 7 furlongs or a mile with some pace in front of her, she'll be okay.
Yeah, the paces are so important in these races, and this was one you just didn't get that much of a pace, which really means Ampart Ridge ran a lot better than it looks on paper.
And we'll take another look at a race from Wednesday. This is the 9th race, and we're going to take a look at Mayday Now, who eventually would go on to win this race. It was a heavy favorite in here, went off 30 cents to the dollar. Mayday Now is the number 7 horse in here, and things are going to develop pretty well here for Mayday Now. And what we're kind of going to try to show you here is, as we'll see, just to highlight Mayday Now to show you where that one is. What we're basically trying to say here is, though, this horse has a ton of trouble in the stretch, but you have to consider that the way the horse got to that point and what happens in the race. Right now, he's sitting in a pretty good spot here behind 3 Speeds.
No question about it. And this is a horse, next time this horse runs, and she may well win the next time, but on the other hand, this horse looks a lot better than it is based on that race because, frankly, as you said, absolutely perfect trip right now for Mayday Now. Gets in some very well-publicized trouble, which, frankly, Ramon Dominguez is a terrific rider and has had a tremendous winter and has shown that he absolutely is one of the better riders in the country. And we have nothing but respect for him. This is not a good ride. He gets this horse into trouble, and he really didn't need to. Right now, sitting behind the perfect spot, he is supposed to be looking to angle this horse out in the stretch. Instead, I thought he got a little overly cute.
I thought so, too. There wasn't so much of a need to save ground here. Maybe he thought that those 2 horses in the 1 and 3 path would kind of separate a little more. They come together at the top of the stretch. If he gets shut off there, can't go to the inside. So right now is where he should be looking to go inside, but still looks to thread that seam there and go right through there. And, of course, he gets shut off here and really almost comes to a complete stop top, almost goes down actually. And you just see how good, that wasn't a good decision by Ramon, but you see how good a jockey is here, just knowing that he's got enough horse to win this race. Doesn't even go to the whip here. In hand, this horse comes up and goes by at the end here, May Day Now. So an impressive performance, but I think next time out he's going to be overbet because of this trouble and because of how easy he won. He set a perfect trip in this race up to the quarter pole.
I absolutely agree. I don't think this horse is as good as people think he is, and maybe he's going to move a little bit forward. One who took a couple of races to break his maiden, was very studdish first time out, very short prices, and I think May Day Now is okay, but everybody's going to be saying, oh gosh, did you see how incredible it was last time? If he didn't get in that trouble, as you said, he would have won this race by 3 to 4 lengths. Okay, fine. I'd like to add a few points to his speed figure. He's a faster horse than the shows in that race, but he had a lot of good things happen to him before getting in trouble.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the keys, and kind of determining these horses that have trouble trips and how you'd bet them next time back, and determining how they got to the point before they had trouble is absolutely key. And for May Day Now, things couldn't have gone better early on in the race.
Yeah, I think the trouble only slightly was worse. It was, only cost him a little bit in relation to how much good happened to him. May Day Now, if the field is tougher, we'll be taking a chance against him. He'll be a trap the next time he runs. Anyway, that does it for the first episode of Trips and Traps. We appreciate your watching as always. That email address is tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com. Please keep your thoughts coming, and we appreciate your watching.
Come on back for the second segment.